And where is the entryway to Tucker's? Where's the front door?
Right down here in the corner where we first walked in.
Okay. All right. Now, we have a little waiting to do. Now, during this period of time, do you recall approximately how long it was before Ms. McKernan returned back to the group?
No, I don't.
Okay. And at this point in time, as you are waiting for her to return, has any alcohol consumed by the three of you at that point?
I don't know yet. They might order a beer or something for each other. No, I don't think anything's been served yet.
Okay.
There's a beer right there.
Now, up to this particular period of time, how long would you say has passed between Rob and Colleen's arrival at the party to arriving at Tucker's?
How long has passed since they got to the party in Tucker's?
Yes.
About an hour and a half.
All right. Now, had you had the opportunity to observe them spending time together?
Yeah, yes.
Was there anything out of the ordinary?
No.
How did they appear to be getting along?
Fine, like normal.
Now, I believe at some point in time, I believe you indicated shots were consumed, correct?
Yes.
And when they were purchased, how were they purchased?
I want to say one of the guys bought the first round, imagine with cash. I think
Not necessarily the method, but were they bought one at a time? Were they bought rounds? Everybody
bought
got
rounds.
Okay.
Bought rounds.
All right. Now, at this point in time, it looks like there's simply the two of you, or two individuals at the bar?
Yeah, I think that's Rocky and Rob.
Okay. Do you remember where you went during this period of time?
To get cash out of the ATM there.
And where's the ATM?
Right by the front door to the right, probably back here, past my mark.
Okay. Now, do you recall whether or not at some point in time Rob leaves the bar area to go toward the back room?
Yeah, he leaves here sometime soon to go find her.
All right, now it looks like something's getting handed out there.
Yeah, I think that's the first round of shots.
Okay. Prior to this point in time, do you recall consuming any shots?
No.
All right. All right, who was that just walked to the back room?
Rob.
Right, and who is that walking back toward the table?
Colleen.
All right, what's going on at this point?
We're all doing a shot together.
Now, during this period of time at the bar, looks like you're all conversing together.
Yeah.
Anything out of the ordinary?
No.
Was everyone getting along?
Yes, they're getting along.
Now, I see you're up at the bar this time. Do you recall what you were doing?
I think I was getting another round of shots.
Okay. Same shots that you consumed the first time?
Yes.
And the video is showing what at this point?
Doing another round of shots.
And do you recall approximately how long you were at Tucker's?
I want to say about half an hour.
All right, so it looks like at this point in time, you're about 15 minutes through the evening?
Yeah, yes.
All right, looks like more things are getting handed out.
Yeah, another round.
All right, and who purchased that round?
I did.
Now, prior to getting at Tucker's, do you recall observing whether or not Rob or Colleen had consumed any alcohol while at the house?
Yeah, they were drinking beers at the house.
Beer? Okay. Do you recall how many either of them had at the house?
I really don't know.
Okay. Now in this video we see Rob. What is that he's wearing for his outer layer?
What's that? I think he just got a brand new white hoodie.
Okay. And is that what he wore to and from the bar when you walked to and from the bar?
Yes.
Do you recall whether or not he had any other outer coat or anything like that evening?
I don't think he did.
Okay.
Because I seen him walk in the house with that white hoodie on.
Okay, so when he came to the residence, he was wearing that same white hoodie?
Yes.
All right, now it looks like two individuals now just left to go back toward the restrooms, correct?
Yes.
Who was that?
Rob and Rocky.
All right, and who is left remaining at the table?
Colleen and me.
Now, at the time, did you have any firsthand knowledge about what may have occurred in the restroom?
No.
And you and Colleen are here having a conversation, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall in general what the conversation was about?
Not so much. I know as it went on, she was wondering something about the other girls at the party. We got another shot, me and her. And
all right. So fair to say in this video, it shows the three of you doing shots all together. I'm sorry, the four of you.
yes.
And then here, you and Colleen do a fourth.
Yes.
All right. Do you recall whether or not Rob or Rocky had any other additional shots after they returned from the restroom?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't think they did.
Now, at this point in time, obviously it's one-on-one with you and the defendant. How would you describe her demeanor?
She seemed fine.
Now, this round for the two of you, was it the same or different alcohol?
The same.
Now, prior to this particular evening, had you and Colleen spent any one-on-one time together?
No.
All right. And this particular conversation, was this the first time you had kind of sat down and talked alone?
Yes.
And how was the conversation?
I think she was talking about my girlfriend and her friends, and as Rob comes walking up, and I can't really say anything about girls not getting along or being friendly with each other.
Well, let me ask this. Was this an awkward conversation in the sense of the topic, or were you having trouble conversing with her?
Well, yeah, it's you got another female talking to you about your girlfriend. It's not really comfortable.
Fair to say. All right, looks like all four of you are back at the table, correct?
Yes.
All right, during this period of time at the bar, I believe everyone's going to be leaving shortly. Did you have an impression as to whether or not either Rob and or Colleen were intoxicated?
I mean, I could tell at that time. I could tell they, the alcohol was kicking in.
Okay. Did you observe either of them have trouble standing or walking or anything like that?
On the way home, I could see they were both feeling the alcohol.
All right, looks like hats are going on, correct?
Yeah.
All right, what's the plan?
Getting ready to walk back to
Okay.
Zach and Brittany's.
And who all left?
Me, Rob, Rocky, and Colleen.
Okay, so all four of you left together?
I'm pretty sure Rocky might have stepped out right before us.
Okay. Now, how did you get back to the residence?
We walked.
And did you all walk together, or was there groupings?
Well, I mean, Rob and Colleen kind of stayed a little close. Then they started having a conversation with each other.
All right. Is that you staying behind to clean up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it looks like you go off camera right about 10:30. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And to the best of your recollection in reviewing that video, does that video appear to be a true and accurate depiction of the time you had all spent at Tucker's that evening?
Yes.
Okay. Let me turn it on. Thank you. All right, you had just indicated, I believe, when we were talking about the walk home, that Rob and Colleen had a discussion on the way home.
Yes.
And how would you describe that discussion?
It was about money, how much money they had left over from the whole night.
Okay, and do you recall who instigated that discussion?
I think she did, Colleen did. They wouldn't know how much money Rob had left. I think they said something about they took out $100 for the night and they only had $10 or $20 left. And they didn't seem too happy about how much money they had left.
Okay, so when you would describe this conversation, was it a cordial conversation? Was it an argument?
No, it wasn't an argument. It wasn't a yelling or anything. It was just, where'd all the money go?
Okay.
Like, talking.
All right. How long does it take you to get back to the residence?
Not even 5 minutes.
All right. And my understanding is that something happened pretty much right after you got back to the residence that had everybody running around.
Yeah, everyone was looking for Rocky's cell phone.
Okay. And that finally resolved itself?
Yes.
Okay. And when all died down, what did you do? Where did you go at the residence?
Out back.
All right. Describe for me out back.
It's a patio, a little cement slab with a picnic table on it, and a grass yard behind it, and a fenced-in yard.
All right. And when you went outside, was there anyone already out there, or did other people go with you?
Yeah, there's a couple people out there. Rob, Colleen, and Rocky.
Okay. And while you were out there, were you able to observe what was going on with Rob and Colleen?
Yeah, it seemed like he was trying to get her to go in the house.
Okay. And could you describe a little bit for us what you were witnessing that gave you that impression?
He kept going in the house with her, and then he'd come back out, and she'd come out, and they'd go back in together, and then he would come out, and she would come out.
Okay, so it was like a little cartoon thing, in out the door, like a Tom and Jerry?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And how long would you say that went on for?
Just a couple minutes.
And at some point in time after that few minutes, did Rob and Colleen finally separate from each other?
Yeah, for a few seconds.
Okay, not for a long period of time?
No.
And when they separated, where was he and where was she?
He was down on the cement pad. She was in the house.
Okay, and who was down on the cement patio with him?
Rocky and myself.
And any other individuals?
No.
Now, when he was able to separate himself, did you see him do anything that indicated to you that he may be getting caught shortly?
Yes.
All right, and what you observed, first let me ask, were you participating in this activity?
No.
Who was participating in the activity?
Rob and Rocky were at the table.
Okay, and what is it exactly that you saw Rob doing?
A white substance. He was bending over to a white substance.
Okay. Now, prior to seeing this on the table, had you seen it before that night?
What?
The white substance?
No.
All right. Do you have any firsthand knowledge of what it is?
No.
And did you see whether or not Rob was actually able to consume any of it?
He bent over as she walked out the door.
Okay.
I don't think he consumed anything.
Okay, so the timing of it, am I correct that you're saying as he was bending down, she was out the door?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have any indicators that you observed that told you that he may get caught doing what he was doing?
Yeah, I mean, she came through the doors, he was bending over, I mean.
Okay, so you saw that happening?
Yes.
All right. And he gets caught?
Yes.
All right. Now, before we get to what happened when he got caught, did you at any time see Rob take, hide, pocket, do anything with the white substance that you had seen on the table?
No.
All right. Did you see whether or not Rocky took, hid, moved anything on the table?
No.
All right. So you see Colleen coming out. Describe for me her reaction as she comes out.
She came out and she was like, "What is that? What were you doing?"
Okay. And how does Rob respond?
He's trying to cover himself. He's like, "Nothing. Wasn't doing anything." And she's like, "What is that stuff? And what
Okay.
were you doing?"
Now let me ask how this conversation was going. Obviously, we're talking here in the courtroom today and using particular tones. Was that tone that was used at that moment louder?
Yes. Yeah.
Who was loud?
Colleen.
What about Rob?
He wasn't loud.
Okay.
Talking.
Now, when Colleen was asking these questions, who were they directed at?
Rob.
Were they directed at anybody else?
No, Rob.
Rob. And during this conversation or this argument outside, did you ever see Rob and or Colleen have any physical touching of each other?
No.
Now, you had stated previously that you had heard a conversation about money.
Yes.
A conversation that they were not happy about the status of their finances.
Yes.
In comparing those two interactions, was this interaction the same level, or was it more severe, louder?
It was louder. It was more severe.
Okay. All right. What did you observe next?
They, she was getting loud, questioning him what it was. They were arguing. The homeowner came out because it was getting loud out there and just asked them to quiet down or leave.
All right. Let me ask you this. During this going back and forth, demanding to know what it was, what were you and Rocky doing?
I was just standing there shocked. Rocky was trying to, get Rob's back and say it was nothing. I was just standing there watching the whole situation.
Okay, so you were kind of staying out of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see them leave?
Yeah.
All right, what did you see when they left?
I just see him go into the house, and then I heard him go through the front door and leave. I was still outside.
All right, so when they go in the residence and go to leave the residence, you remained on the back patio?
Yes.
Now, when you were on the back patio, were you able to hear anything going on in the front of the residence?
I heard them leave. I don't think they were outside yelling at each other or anything, but I heard their voices.
Okay.
The house is only, 30 feet long. I heard them leave.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not Colleen made any specific statements to you as she was leaving the back patio going into the residence?
Yeah, she said, Mitch, this isn't my fault.
Okay. All right. How long did you say you were out on the back patio before you went back into the residence?
Just a couple minutes, then I went back inside, and then I went back outside again to smoke another cigarette.
And how long would you say it was before you learned that there had been something posted on a Facebook page?
It seemed real fast, like 10 minutes.
Okay. And based on the information that was shared amongst the people at the party as to what they read, what did you do next?
I got my girlfriend's sister to drive me up to their house, and we got up there, there's cops everywhere.
And when you say their house, you mean Rob and Colleen's residence?
Yes.
And based on what you observed at the residence, what you had heard about on Facebook, what did you do next?
I called Rob's mom and boyfriend. That was the first phone number I found on my phone.
Okay, so you informed his mom and his stepdad?
Yes.
And did you remain at the residence at that time?
No, I just had her take me back home.
To your residence or to the party?
To the party.
To the party. Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Just one question about the layout of Tucker's. Is there a back door to that bar?
It's like a side door.
All right, and how would you, since we saw the video, obviously you indicated to the bottom right is kind of where the front door is.
Yeah, the front door is in the bottom right. The side door is just right kind of in the middle of the bar, up against the left side. If you're looking at the screen, the front door is at the bottom. The side door was back about 20 feet and off to the left.
Was it before the wall you see to get to the pool room?
Yes, it was before that hallway.
Okay, so you have the front door, the bar, then there's a door, and then you have that wall that blocks off the pool room and that back up.
Yes.
Okay. All right, no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heltner?
Thank you, Your Honor. Could we approach briefly?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nichols, you've been friends with Rob, you were friends with Rob for a long time, right?
Yes.
Okay, since what, middle school, I think you said?
Yes.
And Colleen, you had met through Rob,
Yes.
and you'd met her about a handful of times.
Yes.
And I want to talk to you about New Year's Eve. You were at Zach and Brittany's house.
Yes.
Okay. You got there sometime between 7 and 8.
Yes. Yes.
And that was before Rob and Colleen got there, right?
Yes.
Now, at that point in time, they hung out with you in the living room.
Yes.
And you stayed in the living room the whole time prior to Tucker's, correct?
Yes.
And then they stayed in there with you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you didn't observe any issues or arguments at that time?
No.
Now, when you guys left for Tucker's, that was you, Rocky, Colleen, and Rob, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you walked down there.
Yes.
Now, when you got there, you only stayed about a half hour. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, the drinks that we saw everyone consuming, it was called warm apple pie, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your opinion, that's not a very potent shot, right?
It's not.
Okay. Sort of watered down?
Just don't think there's a lot of alcohol in it.
Okay. It's cheap, right? It was about
It's cheap, so there's not a lot of alcohol in it.
how much? Like $1.50?
$1.25, $1.50.
Okay. Now, when Rob and Colleen were getting along fine at the bar, right?
Yes.
And you actually had an opportunity to be alone with Colleen at the bar.
Yeah, for a couple minutes.
Okay. And you had been out with her on social occasions before, right?
Once or twice.
Okay. And by your interaction with her then and right at the bar, you didn't notice anything out of the ordinary.
No.
And I think you said on direct examination that she seemed fine,
Yes.
right? Okay. Now, at some point you saw Rocky and Rob go to the restroom, right?
Yes.
Okay. How big is this restroom at Tucker's?
I really don't even know. I don't know.
You don't know if it's a one-stall restroom?
I think it might be.
Okay.
I've been in there once before. I don't remember how big it is.
Okay, when you were in there before, you weren't in there with anybody else?
No.
Okay. And I want to play for you, but you didn't know if they were using the restroom back there, right?
I didn't know what they were doing.
Okay. I want to play a section of the video for you that we just watched, okay?
Okay.
Switch to his. What?
Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the color light show that we are providing right now. I know the screens went royal blue earlier. They are now a magenta. This is for your viewing pleasure. We are doing our best. I don't think that it has thus far inhibited the ability to see the video, but we'll see what this brings us. If there is a problem, we'll try to address it. If you have a time in the video.
We have already preloaded, Your Honor. We're just waiting for it to switch over.
Oh, okay. I thought it was not initializing, but if there's a difficulty getting it to convert to our system, then we can just go to that time on what was already played.
Okay.
It's the same video. I don't know that we need to have
Yes, Your Honor, that's fine.
a bunch of copies, but I'll give you a second to see if it'll boot. It's pink.
Just won't change.
Can you get Brian up here to, okay, is there somebody, call the other number? We have 2 tech people here. Was that just when we switched over? Is it only pink because we switched to this table feed? It's just the camera just goes, okay. Technology is so helpful sometimes and it's so troubling others, so we're doing our best. If you reboot the telestrator, if I hit reboot, would that help? Okay, it's rebooting. Let's try again. Well, the blank screens are no longer pink, so maybe that's a good sign.
We have it open and ready as well, Your Honor, just in case.
Back to paint. All right, I think you can still see. It's up to you, counsel. If you want to take a break to fix it, we can fix it. If you'd like to go forward, pointing out what you want to point out with just a little bit of a pink hue, that's your call. I don't want to.
Could we run it for a sec just to see if I can see what I want to see?
Okay.
Could we run that?
Oh, is it online?
Yeah.
I don't think it's on.
No,
it's on.
there it's on us, okay.
Wait, is it? It shouldn't.
It's on ours now, yeah.
Oh, okay. We were.
Yeah, it wouldn't load on over there.
Oh, it wouldn't load at all.
Switched it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
It's the wrong camera, though.
Oh, you want the other camera? We haven't played that camera, that's why. We only played the one camera. You need to switch to the other camera.
Is somebody on their way to fix it?
Trying to call.
This one?
$22.12. 57.
You had it.
That's all right.
Close
Just
to
let
it.
him run.
Yes, close to it. That's fine. Bear with me, Your Honor. I'm just making sure we can still make it out with the pink.
I think the clarity seems to be about the same to me,
Okay.
but it's your call. All right, let's just stop for a second and I'll let you, are you going to play or do you have questions to ask first?
I was going to ask you a few questions first, Your Honor.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and then we'll go ahead with it unless you determine otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nichols, you stated on direct examination that there was a conversation or a non-serious argument on the way back from Tucker's, right?
Yes.
And that conversation was over money.
Yes.
Okay. Specifically, you mentioned that they brought out like $100, right?
Yes.
And that there was only $20-some left?
Yeah, 10 or 20.
Okay. And Colleen was curious where that money went, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the sum and substance, your understanding of the argument?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Hold on, I'm sorry. Whatever you're working on, just don't disrupt what we're doing right now. Just wait. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Heltner. I apologize.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's fine. Now I'm going to show for you a portion of this video, Mr. Nichols. You already testified that you reviewed this video, right?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, put it in.
You need me to rewind it again because it passed it?
Yes, please. And you've seen this portion of the video, right, Mr. Nichols?
Yeah.
Can we pause it right there? And it appears, Mr. Nichols, that you see Rob pull money out of his pocket.
Yeah, it looks like money.
Okay, it looks like he's counting money.
Yes.
And who's that directly next to Rob?
Rocky.
Okay, that's Rocky who was at the bar with you?
Yes.
The same Rocky that went back to the bathroom?
Yes.
Rob? Will you go ahead and play it, please? Thank you. Can we pause right there? Thank you. Mr. Nichols, did you see Rob exchange money with Mr.
I
Pfister?
seen him exchange some, yes.
Okay, well, we agreed just previously that it appeared as if he was counting money, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you saw as Rob held his hand down low?
Yes.
Okay, and you saw him look over his right shoulder?
I didn't see that. I just seen him,
You didn't see him look over his right shoulder?
no, I didn't look at him looking around.
Okay, you didn't see him look over his left shoulder?
I didn't.
Okay. But you did see him hold his hand down low, correct?
Yes.
And give something to Rocky?
Yes.
That's all I have on the video, Melissa. Thank you. All right, so I want to continue to talk about the ride home, okay? Now, during the ride home, or excuse me, the walk home, everyone was able to walk home, right?
Yes.
Okay? You didn't tell anyone previously regarding this matter that no one had any trouble walking home?
Seemed like she was walking into me.
Okay.
They seemed, like they had alcohol in their system.
Okay. Now, you talked to Detective Golke in this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you've also testified in the previous proceeding in this matter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you, in either of those previous statements, mentioned that Colleen was stumbling into you on the walk home?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained, it's not the proper way. Continue to approach, you can come up.
Move on, Your Honor. Now, when you got back to the party, you, Rob, and Rocky, and Colleen at one point were on the back patio, right?
Yes.
Okay. But then, as you mentioned, Rob was going into the house, right?
Yes.
And he was coming out of the house.
Yes.
And in your words, that was an effort on his part to sort of distance himself from Colleen.
Yes. That's what it seemed like.
Okay. Now, when he distanced himself from Colleen, he came outside to where you and Rocky were, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's when you said you observed a white powdery substance on the picnic table,
Yes.
and you observed him bent over the picnic table.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And then attempting to, what, snort the substance?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Now, it's at that point you stopped Rob, right?
I yelled his name.
You said, watch out, heads up.
Yeah.
Okay? Because he's your buddy, right?
Yes.
And you wanted to give him a heads up.
Yes.
Because you knew whatever he was doing on that picnic table would have probably gotten him in trouble.
Yes.
Particularly with Colleen.
Yes.
And in fact, when you saw Colleen coming out, that's when you said,
Yes.
heads up.
Yes.
Now, when Colleen got outside, she was a little animated, right?
Yes.
She was upset?
Yes.
Okay. And she asked, what is that? Right?
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't tell her what it was, did you?
No.
And Rob didn't tell her what it was.
No.
In fact, you guys kind of said it was nothing, right?
I didn't say anything. They said it was nothing.
Okay. You never said that it might have been a pill?
I didn't know what it was at the time.
Okay. So you were staying out of it?
Yes.
Okay. But to your understanding, no one told her what the substance was?
No one did.
Okay. And to your recollection, when Colleen was upset, it's because she thought you had done that substance, right?
Yes.
Now, during this point, you stated that you never saw Colleen or Rob put their hands on each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rob never touched Colleen during this argument.
I think he put his hands on her shoulder to calm down, honey, something like that.
Okay.
There was
so,
no physical touching.
Okay, so he touched her shoulders in a non-violent way?
Yes, in a non-violent way.
Okay. Did he ever grab her wrist?
I don't recall. I don't know.
Okay. So you don't recall her ever grabbing, or him ever grabbing her wrist?
No.
Okay. Now, at that time, based on this argument, you kind of thought it was funny, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, you thought it was funny that your buddy just, kind of got caught trying to do drugs.
Yes.
All right. You weren't afraid for Rob's safety based on that argument?
I wasn't. No.
And you said you laughed, right?
Yeah.
Now, when they left, Rob and Colleen, being they, Colleen said to you, Mitch, this wasn't my fault.
Yes.
Okay. It's your understanding that she wasn't making that statement to anyone else as she exited?
She wasn't.
Was she looking right at you when she made that statement?
Yes.
Okay. And you took that to mean this argument wasn't my fault, right?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
You took that statement to mean this wasn't my fault with regard to the drug use on the back patio.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't think it was something more ominous.
No.
In fact, you were laughing.
Yeah.
Now, you said you don't know what the substance was. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. But you have a pretty good idea of what the substance was, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. I don't know. It's
Withdrawn, Your
asked
Honor.
and answered, and that you cannot open that.
Withdrawing. Now, one thing that you're certain of, Mr. Nichols, is that at no time did you see Colleen put her hands on Rob, right?
Yes.
Now, you spoke with the authorities in this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. And your first impression when and obviously you learned about this on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, your first impression when you heard about what happened is that maybe this wasn't Colleen's fault, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain it, but counsel approached because I see where we're...
Now, you had, Mr. Nichols, when you guys were back at the party when Rob was trying to separate himself from Colleen, you had actually talked to Rob about trying to get him not to do drugs, right? That night.
No,
You did not?
I don't think so.
Okay. Can we approach her?
Okay. I just said you were going to do it over here.
Mr. Nichols, do you recall stating that you were trying to talk Rob out of doing the cocaine that night on New Year's Eve?
I don't recall.
Okay. May I approach the witness?
Yeah, and you have to give him some context for particular when.
Okay. Now, you sat down and you spoke with Detective Golicki, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you do not recall telling Detective Golicki that night that you were attempting to talk Rob out of doing cocaine at the New Year's Eve party?
I don't recall.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I'm going to read this out loud, Mr. Nichols, okay?
Yeah.
And then please just follow along.
Objection, Your Honor.
He indicated he didn't recall, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, you can give him the statement and ask him if it refreshes his memory. Have him read it to himself.
Yes. Would your prior statement possibly refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please read, don't read out loud, just read it to yourself, and then when you're done, just hand it back to me when your memory's been refreshed, okay?
Yeah, I remember saying that.
Can we see that page, please? Thank you.
So, Mr. Nichols, you do recall making that statement
I
to the
think I tried to
detective?
stop him from doing it. Yes.
Okay. That night?
Yes.
On New Year's Eve?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true your first thought when you heard about the shooting was that maybe this wasn't Colleen's fault?
No, it wasn't my first thought.
That wasn't your first thought?
No.
Okay. Do you remember again, you remember going down to the station speaking with Detective Golicki?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you remember telling him everything you knew about that night?
Yes.
Okay. And that was long before what brings us here today, right?
What's that?
That was much prior to us being here today, right?
Yes.
Over here.
Mr. Nichols, isn't it true that at some point you mentioned to Detective Gold that you thought this might not be Colleen's fault?
I don't recall what I said exactly.
Well, one thing we absolutely can agree on is that you weren't at the house that night, right?
Yes.
And you don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
No further questions.
Any redirect, State?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. You may step down. Time frame, do you want to approach?
Yes.
And just over here, off the record, that's fine. Just on timing. State, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state called Mike Sakotis to the stand.
I will proffer something to you when you're done. Before you're done, I just want to put something on the record about that last exchange, but we'll get back to it. Okay, yes.
Sir, here, please. Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear to testify the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the true self. I do.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please give us your full name and spell your last name for us?
Michael Sakotis. Last name is Sakotas.
And Mr. Sakotis, if you could do us all a favor in keeping your voice up and talking slowly enough so the court reporter can take down everything that's being said.
I can.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sakotis, back on December 31st, 2014, where were you residing?
1754 Oak Trail, Massillon, Ohio.
And the 1754 Oak Trail address, where was it in relation to the residence of Rob and Colleen McKernan?
Right across the street.
And did you know Rob and Colleen McKernan?
I did.
And how long had you known them?
For 8 months when they moved in.
And how would you describe your relationship with them?
Friends.
Did you spend time with both Rob and Colleen?
Yes, I did.
And who lived at that residence with you?
My girlfriend, Abby.
Abby Robinson?
Abby Robinson, yes.
And did she live there the entire time that Rob and Colleen lived across the street?
Yes, she did.
Now, it's my understanding that you're a car buff, right?
I am.
Okay. Do you recall what type of vehicles either Rob McKernan and or Colleen McKernan owned or operated?
Colleen had a Honda Civic, and then Rob bought the Chevy Trailblazer.
Chevy Trailblazer, okay. And now, in this particular situation, we've been down that street. Do you recall whether or not Rob and Colleen would park their vehicles in their garage, or whether they would park them in the driveway or on the street?
Usually it was just in the driveway.
Okay. Both vehicles?
Yes.
And was it uncommon for one of those vehicles to remain when one was gone?
Yeah.
All right. Now, on December 31st, 2014, obviously New Year's Eve, did you and Abby have plans for that evening?
Yes, we did.
And what were your plans for that evening?
We went to one of my friend's house for a party. And then we were coming back to our house, and Rob and Colleen were supposed to come over before midnight.
Okay. Did you have any specific time frame in which they were supposed to be coming back to your residence?
No, we didn't.
Now, thank you. Prior to you going out that evening, did you see Rob and Colleen?
We did.
And where did you see them?
Just down the road when we were leaving.
And what were they doing when you observed them?
Just getting ready to leave, head out.
And was there anything about their demeanor, their appearance, or their behavior that drew your attention to them?
Nope.
Now, you were having people back to your residence, correct?
Yes.
How many people?
It was me, my girlfriend Abby, my 2 daughters, one of her friends, and then Rob and Colleen.
And was there any drinking at the party?
Yes.
Who was drinking?
Which one?
I'm sorry, when you were back at your residence.
Oh, yeah, it would have been me, Abby, and then her girlfriend, Jamie.
Okay. And obviously you had some younger adults who were not?
Absolutely.
Okay. What time approximately did you return back to your residence after this initial party you went to?
We got back probably around 11:15, around 10:45.
And that particular evening, how much alcohol would you say you consumed? How were you feeling?
Probably at that time, like maybe 2 or 3 beers.
Okay. And what was going on at your residence? What kind of party was this?
Just casual, we were playing cards.
All right. Any music, anything like that?
Just had a TV on watching the ball drop.
Okay. Now, did you hear anything that evening that drew your attention to whether or not Rob or Colleen may be on their way to your residence?
I did hear a truck pull in.
Okay, let's talk about that. How did you know it was Rob's truck?
He has an aftermarket exhaust on it. It's like an aftermarket, not exhaust pipe.
Okay, can you describe what you mean by that?
Just if you have a car that's stock and then you put aftermarket on, it makes it a little bit louder, gives it more rumble.
Okay, so aftermarket means when you buy the Chevy truck, it doesn't have that particular muffler. You
Correct.
replace it with something you may buy in an auto store.
Correct.
Okay. And is this particular sound distinctive?
Yes.
All right. And because you like cars, you were familiar with it.
Right.
Have you heard Rob and Colleen in that vehicle before to know what it would sound like coming up and down your street?
Well, yeah, actually, I drove it before too.
Or you've driven it before
Yeah,
too?
I have.
Okay. All right. And do you recall approximately what time you would have heard that vehicle come down the street and into the driveway?
It was shortly after I got home, so, 11 thereafter.
Okay. Now, it's my understanding that after you heard what sounded like Rob's vehicle pull into the driveway, that you had some expectations as to what would happen next. What were they?
That they're just gonna come over to the house.
Okay. Prior to that, what's the next thing that you recall hearing?
What I thought was somebody knocking on a door.
Okay. How much time would you say had passed between the time that you heard Rob's truck come into the driveway and the time you heard what you believed to be knocking at the door?
It wouldn't have been that long enough where I thought somebody might have locked the other one out of the house.
Okay. Fair to say you weren't watching the clock.
I wasn't.
Okay. When you hear what you believe to be knocking, can you describe the knocking for us?
It was just like if you'd get locked out of a house and rapidly knock on a door to try to get in.
Okay. Did you count the knocks?
I didn't.
Okay. Do you know whether or not anyone else at the party reacted to those knocks?
They didn't.
Okay. And did you ask?
I did, yeah. I asked if anybody heard that, and they didn't, so.
Okay. So at your particular residence, you were the only one that heard it.
Yes.
Now, what did you do when you heard this knocking?
Just went downstairs, opened up the front door, and looked out to see what was going on.
Okay. So you actually went looking to see if someone was knocking on a door?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see anything?
I didn't.
All right. Did you make any observations as to Rob and Colleen's residence?
Nope, it was quiet.
Did you note whether or not you were correct in that you heard Rob's truck?
Yes, it was sitting out in the driveway.
Okay. In addition to Rob's truck in the driveway, were there any other vehicles in the driveway?
Not that I'd seen.
Okay. Do you know where Colleen's Honda was?
I didn't.
Okay. So you don't specifically recall seeing it that night?
I didn't, no.
Okay. All right, so you hear these knocks, you actually look out the doors, see nothing.
Right.
What do you do next?
I basically just go back in the house.
Okay. My understanding is that after going back into the residence, you may have made some noise of your own.
I did.
Okay, what kind of noise was
I
that?
just went off the back deck to shoot off some fireworks.
Okay. And approximately how long were you shooting off fireworks?
Just one round of them. Little regular firecrackers.
Okay. Was that immediately after entering into the residence?
It would have probably been 15, 20 minutes after I got back in.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, it's my understanding it was brought to your attention that there was something going on outside.
Correct.
All right. And when was that in relation to you shooting off these fireworks?
It was very, very shortly after I actually came back in, and my girlfriend Abby and Jamie were leaving, and when they opened up the front door, that's when they saw the police cars basically out front.
Okay. Now, when you indicated that you went out on the back patio, which direction does that face in relation to Rob and Colleen's residence?
It would have been basically on the back side of my house,
Okay.
so.
your residence and Rob and Colleen's residence face each other?
Correct.
All right, so their front door would face your front door?
Exactly.
So the back of your house would be further away from their residence?
Right.
Okay. May I have a moment, Your Honor? I have nothing further for this witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Ms. Mills?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Segotis. How are you?
Good.
Good. When you were talking about getting home around 10:45 that evening, were you getting home so you would be in your residence to watch the ball drop?
Correct.
And did you have any plans with Rob and Colleen to watch the ball drop together?
We did, yes.
And when did you make those plans with them?
It was earlier that day.
Okay. Had you seen them earlier that day?
We did at around 7:30 when we were leaving.
Okay, so you both were leaving to respective parties at the same time?
Correct.
And so you were certain that before 12 o'clock, Rob and Colleen would be at your house, correct?
That was the plan.
Okay. And were you drinking when you saw them around 7 o'clock?
I was not.
Okay. What about Colleen or Rob? Did they appear as if they had been drinking?
No, they didn't.
Okay. When you got home at 10:45, I think you said it was 10 or 15 minutes later, you heard Rob's exhaust, correct?
Correct.
And you said you knew that it was Rob's exhaust because you'd heard it before,
Correct.
and you'd even driven that particular vehicle before.
I have. Yeah.
What was the occasion in which you drove Rob's vehicle?
We were leaving Jose's Landing. One day we were out and he just asked me if I wanted to drive it.
Okay. Did he ask you because he was unable to drive himself?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled, but with limitations. You're not going beyond that.
I'm not, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr.
No, thank
Chicote. The question before you was, did you drive Rob's vehicle because he was unable to drive the vehicle himself?
No, he could have drove.
He could have driven?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you recall how long ago that was, prior to December 31st, 2014?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Just probably a couple months beforehand. So,
And do you own any guns?
I do.
How many guns do you own?
I probably have 12, 13.
12 or 13?
Yeah.
And do you have your CCW?
I do.
And is one of the 12 and 13 firearms that you own a Glock?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Day asked you about sound that you heard on December 31st, 2014, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you said it sounded like knocking,
Correct.
right? Now, I understand that your house faces Rob and Colleen's, correct?
Correct.
What is the room that is the foremost room that would face across the street from Rob and Colleen's?
Been my living room.
Okay. And were you in your living room when you heard that sound?
I was.
Okay. And I think she asked you about any music that might have been on that night. You said you didn't hear any music because you were just watching television.
Correct.
Right? And then you heard what sounded like a very loud knock.
Correct.
Right? Now that you know that there wasn't anyone at the door, do you believe that that very loud knock was actually the gunshots? that you heard?
Objection, Your Honor.
As to the foundation, I'm gonna sustain it. You need to build it better.
Okay. Mr. Spence, you said you're a gun owner.
I am.
And in fact, you own a Glock.
I do.
And I assume you have shot that Glock before.
I have.
And so I assume that you have heard what shots sound like from that particular firearm.
Correct.
All right. The sound that you heard on December 31st, 2014, once you learned that it was not a knock, did it sound similar to gunshots that you have heard before from a Glock?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
It could have been, absolutely.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So you now believe, as you're sitting here today, that the sounds that you heard were the gunshots from Rob and
I'll
Colleen.
sustain that is a mischaracterization. You've asked the question, ask a different one.
Does it sound like what you heard on December 31st, 2014?
Yes.
Okay. And you heard it repetitive, just like I knocked. Correct?
Correct.
All right. And in fact, when you heard those knocks, you actually got closer to the door, right? You opened, I think, the screen, you opened the main door and still hit the screen.
Correct.
All right. So you are actually moving closer to Robin Collins' house.
Correct.
All right. So once you heard those 10 knocks, or that sound that I just made, did you hear any additional knocks as you moved closer to your door?
I did not.
How long did it take you to get from the living room to the door?
It's really just 6 steps downstairs.
Okay. So I take it you're sitting on the couch watching TV when you hear it?
Correct.
Did you immediately get out and think, someone's at my door, I'm going to immediately walk to that door?
Correct.
There's no delay in you getting closer?
No.
All right, and the entire time that you're walking to the door, you didn't hear any sounds like we have just described, correct?
Right.
And once you got to your door, you didn't hear any follow-up sounds like you described, correct?
Correct.
You looked out,
Yes.
saw Rob's car,
Yep.
no other sounds,
Nothing.
shut the door, walked back to the living room, correct?
Correct.
And at no point in time when you walked back to the living room did you hear no further sounds?
I didn't.
Okay. Now, when you got back to the living room, I think you said that it was about 15 or 20 minutes before you put some fireworks off, right?
Correct.
So at least for those 15 to 20 minutes, Mr. Sakotis, as you're sitting there in the same place you were sitting when you originally heard that sound, you didn't hear any further sounds, correct?
I did not.
Then you went out on your back patio?
Yes.
What kind of fireworks did you put off?
Just like little lady fingers, black hats.
And was there anyone else in the neighborhood putting off fireworks that night?
No.
Okay, just yourself?
Correct.
So it's like boom, boom, if you had all these sounds.
No.
Fairly quiet neighborhood?
Very quiet, yeah.
Okay, I think you have referred to it as a retirement community almost, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know a Judy Smucker?
I do.
Okay, does she live in the neighborhood?
She does.
When's the last time you saw her?
Oh, yesterday.
Okay. And she asked you to do anything with her yesterday?
Objection, Your Honor.
Gonna sustain it at this point. Counsel, just turn around and we'll approach real briefly.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could just have a moment. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly. Mr. Sakotis, am I correct that when you initially testified that you said you weren't counting the amount of knocks that you heard, correct?
That did not count.
Okay. Fair to say your focus that evening was not on any sounds that may be going on in the neighborhood?
Correct.
All right. And did you know when Miss Mills knocked that she knocked a different number of times the first time she knocked and the second time she knocked?
I didn't.
Okay. So that night, same thing, you weren't counting, no idea how many knocks she may have heard.
Correct.
Now, you were also asked about Glocks. Glock is a model of a particular firearm, correct?
The manufacturer.
The manufacturer, right. So when Ms. Mills refers to a Glock sounds like X, there are numerous types of weapons that are Glocks, correct? Okay. Different calibers?
Correct.
The different calibers sound differently when being fired.
They do.
And that particular evening, your impression of what you heard was not that you heard shots fired, but that you heard knocking.
That was my impression.
Thank you. No further questions. Us.
Mr. Skodas, I understand that it was not something that you were counting when you first heard, but it was repetitive, correct?
Correct.
And it was fast, correct?
Correct.
It occurred within a very short period of time, did it not?
It did.
Possible that it was within 2.5 seconds, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and there was no delay in which you heard any other sound similar to that the entire rest of the evening,
I did
correct?
not. Correct.
Thank you. Let me put the question.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, you may step down, Mr. Skodas. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is a good time, ladies and gentlemen, for our afternoon break, so we are going to take a recess at this time. Please do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Do not allow anyone to discuss it in your presence. Do not form or express an opinion on the case until it is finally submitted to you. We will take a short recess. I'll have you reconvene in the jury assembly room I'll give you a leeway between 10 after 3. We'll hopefully be ready to bring you up at 3:15. Okay, to begin promptly at 3:15. So we are in recess. And we're working on technology while you're out.
We have a locked door.
Okay, we're good.
Oh, did he have his key?
Yeah,
Yes.
you got it.
Pay you an extra $1 on your jury fees for shutting the door for us, but thank you very much. Wow. Okay, that was with authority. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you will just be so kind as to just give them, let's see, no, they'll be going down the back, so you are free to exit the courtroom when you are ready to do so. Thank you for your demeanor and your attention. I don't need to put anything on, I changed my mind. Okay, and hopefully we will be able to fix our magenta screens. I'm sorry for interrupting by sending him to turn the light off, but this magenta glare in my face, and I'm looking at it projected on the there, and I'm just thinking they don't need to be looking at this bright pink.
What was amazing is that happened.
It did, in Judge Haas's courtroom.
Yeah. The same thing happened. I was not surprised by the magenta.